right, everyone. Hi, and welcome. As always, let me just check the audio before we get into this, just to make sure that I'm not just talking to no one. All right, beautiful. All right, hi, everyone. Happy Wednesday. How are you guys all doing? I will jump into this pretty quickly, but I'm going to give everyone about 5 minutes if you want to join me today on this short hair tutorial. So we're going to be doing 5 different studies, and I'm going to give roughly about 20 minutes each, like 15 to 20 minutes. And I put the references in the Discord, which is below. There's a link, and the channel you are looking for is Stream Follow Along. So if you want to also draw these short hair references today, you can find them there. So as always, how's everyone doing? I guess I should first say hi everyone if you're new here. I'm Timothy von Rueden, better known as vonnart online, and I do these weekly Wednesday live streams, oftentimes with my boyfriend Josh. Today he is downstairs working in the basement, working hard, getting everything post-conventions kind of organized and back together. So he will be down there today, and I will be doing this solo, and it will be a tutorial-based stream. Now, we've been doing hair for the last, I think, 3 streams, 3 or 4, and this will be the conclusion to that series, if we want to call it that. Next week, we're going to have a little bit more fun. We're probably going to do a mix of AI inspiration generator and then anyone who wants to join me. So, like, let's say we do kind of like the study I did today. Or not study, this is just a warm-up drawing, but it was like Moon Sorceress. So then you can type that into AI, see what different compositions and ideas you can come up with, and I'm going to be asking you guys for suggestions, and then it'll give us a couple of thumbnail ideas, and then I think I'm going to post those 4 thumbnail ideas on the screen, and then for the next hour and a half, I'm going to ask if everyone kind of interprets it as they will, and we'll see what everyone comes up with. So I think that's going to be our kind of like play-along live stream. I don't have necessarily a name for it yet because obviously AI is very new, and I feel like I am kind of singing a slightly different tune about AI art. At first I thought it was like abhorrent. I thought it would be the worst thing for the art industry, and I still think a lot of people will lose their jobs, so I still hold that position. But as an inspiration generator, I think it is phenomenal. I think you can literally create your own Pinterest boards from it. And later this week, I'm going to be doing a recording of my thoughts on it. And me as a traditional artist, like not only this drawing here, let me show you guys. I also did this one, and I've been trying to keep this momentum of every morning. I just spend an hour and I just draw different ideas based on either compositions or ideas that I generate from AI. Now, mind you, this does not look like, I mean, I can show later what the original AI piece looked like, but I think using it as like a composition generator and then pulling your own ideas into it is great. So I was very excited working on this one this morning because I am so much faster now as a traditional artist than I was last week. And who would have thought that it would have taken AI art to like push me into being loose again and gestural with my lines and my energy that I'm flowing into the drawing. So very excited to talk about that. I'll probably talk about it way more next week, as today is definitely more about hair, and we're going to be doing those studies. So hi everyone. If you guys want to put where you're watching from, it's always cool to see where you guys are around the world. See, I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm too excited. Hey Candor. Candor is one of our lovely mods from the Discord group. How am I doing today? I am honestly phenomenal. I feel so good. I feel like art and the inspiration, like passion that I had for art in my mid-20s, it's like it's back. I don't want to jinx it, knock on wood, but I feel so good about art right now. And I'm going to keep that going as long as I can. I mean, the fact that I was able to do this drawing in less than an hour, essentially, it was like 59 minutes, and it just felt good. Like the original pose, at least in the AI thumbnail, was just like her basically standing with her arms by her side. You can't even see her hands or her arms. But then as I was like pulling my own inspiration into it, I was like, oh, what if she's like holding the moon? And I was like, oh, how cool would that look if she had like both hands, you know, one above, one below. And it's almost like she's holding it, but it's a very like dominant gesture pose of like I'm controlling it, like the moon cannot move. So it's a very like domineering position. And it was just flowing so naturally out of my mind and onto the paper. It just felt great. So yeah, I'm doing really good today. Hope you guys are doing well too, because I kind of want to share this energy with you guys. Let's see. Oscar, hello. Hey, just checking in. I'll be watching later when I come home. I'm at work. Yes, I remember seeing that in Discord. I hope you enjoy your work, and we'll be seeing you next week then. Actually, next week will probably be the one you'd have more fun with, because I know you were one of those people on the stream that was like 3-4 weeks ago that was defending AI art, and you'll actually be very happy with some of the new conclusions I came to with it. So I look forward to that one. Oh, Kat's here. Oh, Kitty Hug Fitness is my best friend. She is a wonderful fitness trainer and I guess personal wellness coach, we can start saying maybe. She has her own YouTube channel, so you guys should go check that out if you're looking for some, inspiration on working out, because I know a lot of us are sedentary in our lifestyles with drawing usually in a chair or a couch. I know I definitely am, so it's good to get our bodies up and moving from time to time. Let's go. Yes, Candor, I agree. For inspiration, it's all right. And that's exactly how I'm going to use it. I'm not going to be painting over AI art ever. I'm not going to just steal what I see and then put it on paper. That's where I feel kind of gross about AI art still, but using it just as like a Pinterest board generator, it's phenomenal. It really is. I can't deny it. Corinna from Germany, happy Wednesday. Hello. Samantha watching from Texas. Well, hello, Samantha. Barbara from the Netherlands. Oi. Or is it hoi or hoi? Hoi. From the Netherlands. Hello. Kendra says, I was just looking at the Flower Boy and Tristan earlier and how amazing and flowy they are. Still in love with those two. Well, thank you, Kendor. I do feel like I'm at my best when I'm just letting it organically grow. I feel the most stifled in my process when I am too articulate and too tight with the drawing, and like it has to be a specific way. And I never would have thought something as radical as AI art would be the push I needed to get out of that control, that sense of overbearing control in such a limiting box. It's been great. So yeah, I'm glad that you still like those flowy drawings. I mean, I still think of you when I think of Tristan because you really liked it. And watching from South Korea as always, of course. Anna Maria from Romania, hello. Shepard from Ukraine, hello. Well, I hope you're all right over there. Spencer says, do you think the fact that the art isn't created from a person takes away from the meaning and significance of the piece? Absolutely. I think that's why AI art still feels a little weird to me, but if an artist is using it as a way to generate thumbnail ideas or composition ideas, and then they're able to like put their own personal story and input into it after that, I think that's where AI art could be phenomenally used, if that's even a word, phenomenally. We'll just say used in a wonderful way. I think just like generating it and then doing no edits and then posting it, it still feels a little weird to me. I think that's something maybe I should explore more, but as of right now, I still feel a little weird about that. Erica, hello, watching from Philadelphia, hello. Ari says hello from Saudi Arabia, hello. Barbara says hoi like you say ahoy. Hoi. Well, hoi, Barbara. Caloris, hello from rainy Belgium. Well, it is also rainy in Wisconsin as well. Nice little rainy day here, which is kind of nice, to be honest. I personally like rainy days, so I don't know. Maybe it's because like it is like a validation to not have to go outside. Like I can just sit in and draw and not feel like, oh, I should go outside and do something because the weather's nice today. Okay, I think I'm going to go ahead and get started. Let's go ahead, and I didn't realize we're already 10 minutes past. So I'm going to pull up the hair here. So here's what I'm thinking. So we're going to be doing, if you missed the beginning, we're going to be doing each hair study for about 15 to 20 minutes. And I'll have my little timer on the side. I should have had one on the screen, but maybe it'll be better if you guys don't see the timer, because then you won't be constantly looking up and down and seeing how much time you have left. So we're going to be putting 15 minutes, or you know what, we'll do 20. Or, you know what, we'll be dangerous. We're going to live on the wild side and do 18. So we're going to do 18 minutes per hair study. And I have some of the ones that you guys recommended this morning. So we have 5 of them. And they're slightly different on each of them. I picked, I think, 3 of the ones you guys posted in the Discord, and then the other 2 I found online for like different hairstyles that show like a shaved side of the head, and then one where the hair is just very matted and over the forehead, kind of like the late 2000s Bieber cut, where it seemed like every guy had that haircut. I think that's another good one to explore though, because having essentially bangs all the way around the head, knowing just how to draw that. Okay, are you guys ready? Let me see if there's any last minute questions here, and then we'll go ahead and get started. Candor says, yes, artists should use the tools they have to their full potential, but those tools should never take the place of art. Agreed. Tristan and I are the best team. Yes, yes, he has a very special place in my heart. I don't think I will ever get sick of him. So inspiring. Well, that is great to hear, Candor. Thank you, thank you. Oh, Katie. Oh, no. Hi, Timmy. It's Ellie. Hey, Ellie. So Ellie is my goddaughter. She is my niece from my oldest sister. I am watching from our TV. Can you say hi to me? Hello, Ellie. Hello, hello. Yeah, welcome. Okay, are you guys ready? Oh, yes, and thank you, Candor. For any of you that are watching, if you want to ask a question or if you have any comment, please put @vonnart. That way it's easier for me to see it as I'm going between the drawing and the comment section. Because since Josh is not with me today, it always takes me a little bit when I look up at a comment. Okay, are you guys ready? I'm going to reset the timer. So we're going to start off with Cole. And I'll kind of explain each hairstyle just like very briefly before we get started. And for this one, essentially, I think you guys wanted to see a part in the middle and then how hair kind of waves on the side and how to create that shape. Okay, you guys ready? Let's go. 3, 2, 1. Okay, I'm gonna move my Cintiq a little bit though, so I can see it better. Okay, so when I'm doing this one, I'm gonna zoom in as well for you guys. Almost for all of these hair ones, I'm really gonna break it down into the shape first. So when I'm looking at this face and this head shape, actually I can almost look at, I have my OBS screen in front of me and the reference is actually pretty good right there. So you can see how his hair kind of creates almost like a mushroom hat. Think of like Toad from Mario Brothers. I'm gonna kind of create that first, that shape. And mind you, this is not a face and like facial feature tutorial. So try not to spend too much time on those elements. Instead, I'm just gonna break it down. I try to find a better picture of Cole without his hand blocking some of his face, because I don't want any of you spending like too much time on rendering a handout. That is not the purpose of today's stream. It is hair. It was funny, I even tried looking for his brother Dylan. I tried to find like a good picture of like the same kind of wavy hair that's pushed to the side. But both of them seem to have this weird thing when they take photos of just having their hand like in front of their face, touching their face, in their hair, whatever it might be. I could not find that many good pictures of him with his hair without his hand blocking like a section of it. And then for you, those of you that will be following along with me today, don't worry about the timer. I will still give you guys little warnings of like 10 minutes left, 5 minutes left, and then maybe like a 1 minute left timer. So normally whenever I'm drawing faces as well, I still like to kind of give myself a general vague placement of the facial features. You don't have to be super appealing, I guess you could say, or heavily detailed. Definitely not heavily detailed at all. Really the purpose is just to block in the shapes so that it creates a foundation for me to be able to work on top of. And literally, I might not push too much further than this for the areas that are not the hair, because I'm going to repeat it many times in this tutorial. This is not a profile, a face tutorial, a hand tutorial. It is nothing but hair, but I still like to block it out first. So drawing hair on like nothing on empty space just seems kind of weird to me. So I at least like to have something to work from. So now when I'm drawing the hair, I'm doing the outside shape first. Usually that's how I work when I'm doing short hair like this. But then within the hair, so within that big shape we created, I'm trying to then break it down into slightly smaller shapes. So in this case, I'm looking how his hair creates this wave of a highlight and shadow. And there's kind of a wave of highlight in like this section of the hair here. So I'm going to be working with that and then putting in the shadow shapes around it. Because remember on the stream, if you guys were here, the stream where I talked about the different renderings of hair, blocking out shadows, I think, is such a great way to quickly create hair, which implies a lot of detail without actually having a lot of detail. I feel like this goes a little higher. And mind you, if you're doing your studies today in more of a like stylistic approach, that's totally okay. This is not supposed to be a pure realism only study, so you can definitely do your own take on it. I don't know why my voice is so raspy today. So then I like how his hair kind of falls on this side more, and you see how it creates that shape going kind of across and down. And then there's this one strand of highlighted hair that cuts right in front of it. And what's kind of fun about this pose specifically is the lighting is so high contrast in some areas, like the left of his hair, it's so either in light or in shadow. And for someone like myself that loves drawing shadow shapes, I like how the hair shadow even bleeds into the side of the face, into the eye area. So when I would be drawing this, if I was like doing the whole face, I would definitely pull that shadow, as you can kind of see, into the eye area as well. Like that. And I'm pulling it down. Something else that I've been trying to do more is work more angular and then softening it as I create more of the detail. It seems to really be helping me. I don't know if that's, I feel like this is probably like a cynics tutorial that is like deeply rooted in my mind when I watched a lot of his tutorials back in the day. If you haven't seen any of cynics tutorials, I do recommend them. I think they're really great with creating structure, and for whatever reason, I've been really working with more like straight lines recently, and it seems to be helping quite a bit. Hello, Felix. I made it just in time. I'll start painting right away. I can't find my graphic tablet pen. Yes, I think you definitely need your graphic pen if you want to be working digitally today. I mean, who knows? Maybe that's a sign that we're meant to try traditional. I always read into things like that way too often. So as you can see, we have like a good, or actually, no, I gotta do this side a bit more. There's more shadows on this side than I initially gave it credit for. And I kind of like that this is more blocked out in a matte, darker color. And for those of you who don't know, whenever I say matte, I mean it in the M-A-T-T-E reference. So basically like a flat, neutral, and consistent value. It kind of has one stray hair on the very top here. Okay, and let's fill this in. And then essentially we have kind of the blocked out shadow shapes. So you can see how where we started with just creating that outside shape and then working on the inside shapes, it's now at this point, then I could start doing more of the detail. And if I really wanted to pull in more of either a graphic style or a fantastical, that is kind of up to you. I think for me personally, let's see, what kind of style do I want to do today? I might do a mix of fantastical and slight realism. But I'm going to really play into the shadow blocking. So I'm going to accentuate the shadow areas here. Let's see. Okay, we got about 10 minutes now. And please, please, please remember that this is not a face, hand, or clothes tutorial. So try to keep it just on the hair. The only thing I don't like sometimes when I get into detailing is because I'm adding these darker lines to edge out some of the hair, it creates this contrast or this lack of contrast because now there's like 3 different tones or 3 different values, where on the left side of the face right now, it's basically 2-tone. You have your areas in highlight and then areas in shadow. So when I'm feeling good about doing hair, I feel like I leave the areas in shadow pretty matte, and then I only try to highlight a bit of the areas in, or not highlight, I try to detail the areas that are more in the highlights. Because then when I get too rambunctious with how I'm rendering, I feel like I lose some of the strength of those initial shapes that we blocked out. So kind of like that. Because I think the biggest thing, if you're trying to work on getting better with doing hair, and specifically short hair, I'm telling you, blocking out shapes is way better than trying to draw individual strands. I think that's like one of the biggest mistakes I see younger artists do, is they try to block out or they try to render more strands of the hair than is necessary. Because you can definitely imply hair rendering with very little actual rendering. And honestly, I think hair can look a lot stronger too when you're not trying to over detail and over accentuate it. I think having it read more as a shape can be much stronger. And obviously, if you play with like the shadow shapes in the shirt and whatnot, then you can really start to push more of this shadow and light contrast here. Especially on his face. He has a really good shadow being casted from his nose. I might just block that out at least. So you can kind of see how just blocking shadows out really do imply a light source. And that can be very helpful too when you're trying to have a consistent read on whatever it is you are rendering. And he has quite the bounce light coming from underneath his jaw. Nope, you know what? I'm getting too focused on rendering the skin and the areas besides the hair. It's just too much fun. Rendering characters and faces are a lot of fun for me. And for any of you that are following along, I'm sure doing like character studies and character art, it probably does excite you. And I know when I'm working on characters, I love rendering the face. And it's hard for me to like resist not diving into his face right now. So like honestly, I don't need too much more than this. See how I'm like, I really just blocked out kind of where the highlights are, and then everything else is a very matte shadow. I guess he has some highlights going on this side. I can block those out a bit better. Chlor says, not hair related, sorry, but how do you scan and edit your graphite drawings for printmaking without ruining the contrast while getting rid of the paper's texture? So I use a Epson 10,000 scanner. It is pretty phenomenal. It sometimes doesn't work. Sometimes it'll be like, oh, can't scan your thing right now, blah, blah. So you just unplug it, replug it back in. And it does a really good job at scanning without blowing out the contrast of the paper. And after scanning it, I'll usually bring it into Photoshop and like just play with the values slightly to bring up some of the darker values that may have got slightly washed out when scanning. Like I said, it does a pretty good job, so I really do just bare minimum editing in Photoshop, unless if I really want to like play with the contrast some more, but usually I try to keep it pretty close to the actual drawing. Okay, we officially, man, we still have 5 minutes. I feel like maybe I've been getting faster with hair because I've been doing a lot of hair rendering recently, and I'm kind of going pretty fast when I'm doing my hair rendering. So maybe I'll just give a little bit more effort to the area around his shirt. I feel like I'm breaking my own rules. I said we shouldn't do anything besides the hair, but I kind of like where the hair is sitting right now. So maybe I'll play more with that shadow because I like working with like blocking out strong shadows, especially when implying a light source. I think it's great. It's like on that hand, doing that line and then filling it in with that same value. Love doing that. I think she has a little more sideburn than I initially put in. I guess I can also place out the eye a little bit. It's funny, I really didn't think I'd have enough time to like play with other areas of the face, but here we are. Oh, I should mention, okay, when doing a transition from the hairline to the scalp, or to the forehead, I should say, sometimes I like it to fade very quietly, like it'll have this nice soft transition, and then especially if I'm adding like a little bit of a value to the skin, I'll have it be kind of this natural gradient kind of into the forehead. But if I want more of a harsh hairline, then I would definitely dig the pencil into the paper and go darker, or even just pull a darker valued pencil, because right now I'm working with a 2H, which if you don't work with pencils normally, 2H is pretty light. On the scale of like dark to light, H pencils are on the lighter scale, and then the higher the number, the lighter it will be essentially. So 2H is pretty light, but you can even work with like a 4H, a 6H, but those pencils are like super, super, super light. And even though I like drawing lighter, they're almost like too light for what I want to be doing. Yeah, so you see how the hair, I'm trying to like naturally fade it in, and try to keep your lines when you're doing more detail work in the same direction that the hair is actually flowing out of the head. Because if I started rendering and pushed my values like this way, like if I was rendering it this, I think it'll read a little stranger than if you kept it in the natural flow of the hair. Might sharpen up some of these edges. Who knows? Maybe the next one I'll be a little bit more fantastical. I felt like this one I played it more safe. But you know, first one. Getting my warm up for the day on hair. So I felt like when I was doing the Moon Sorceress warm up, I was just flowing. I was going so fast. Oops, put my phone over here. Oh, I forgot the shadow on the collar. Fill it in, and bam, game changer. Look at that. Now you can definitely tell the direction of the light source in this drawing. Okay, we have about 1 minute left. I guess I can give him a little bit of a nose shape for the final minute. Meanwhile, this eye is just like completely blank. Oh, and we have seconds left here. All right. That is our first one. So I'm going to put a number next to it. And mind you, for anyone that is following me today, I'll do a quick kind of review at the very end of this stream where I'll pull up your own submissions and you guys can submit to the Discord, but wait till all 5 are done. So don't just post one at a time as we're going through the live stream, and I'll kind of mention that as we continue through, but try to wait till the very end and then submit however many you did. So if you didn't do all of them, that's totally fine too. Submit what you got, but then we'll be going, I'll do just kind of quick, brief look at what you guys created. Okay, are you guys ready to move on to number 2? I feel like I definitely made his face a little smaller than it should have been. I should have made it a little bigger, but focus was on the hair, not the face. I feel like, you know what? I'm just going to push the eyebrow up because I feel like that makes it weirder, I think, actually. Maybe not. We'll just leave it as is. All right, you guys ready for number 2? So number 2, so if Cole's was more of like the wavy in the front, we are now going to pull all that hair and push it back. And then this was the example for number 2. So as you can see, we have that same level of kind of like straight wavy hair, but we're just going to push it now all the way to the back. And I want to show a little bit more of the side. We have an example later on where it's like a full profile side view, and it has like short hair on the side and then that same kind of curl on the top. But this one's the 3/4 angle because I think this one's a good one to practice on as well. Okay, you guys ready to do this? I'm gonna set the timer. Once again, 18 minutes on the clock. You guys ready? 3, 2, 1. So as per usual, let's block out the head first. So he has a very triangular face. So you can kind of see how it goes down first, and then you follow that jawline. Kind of go back in the head. And it's funny, normally for each drawing, I kind of approach how I draw it depending on the subject matter. So like for him, I'm going to approach this differently than I approached Cole because it's so angular, and because I've been wanting to play more with angles as I do my like earlier compositions, I want to play more with those triangular shapes from the get-go. Oh, hi Casper the cat. You'll probably see him jump up in a minute or two. Loves interrupting live streams. All right, same thing though for the other one. I'm going to kind of block out the shapes of the hair here. So initially, and if you need to like squint to help simplify the shapes, I know a lot of people do that to start out with. It kind of goes out. All right, so I can kind of see the top of the hair. This needs to be in a bit more. So you can kind of see the initial head placement here. Give a rough outline to the side of the hair. And this is where kind of that flow comes in. And now when I work with reference in my own drawings, I rarely copy it like one for one at all. I feel like I'll very much pull some things that I like. Like if I like the head turn, maybe I'll try to capture that in the drawing and then move on. Because I feel like when you're constrained too much by reference, it can actually weaken the end result. And that's why sometimes when even doing these live streams, I feel I could be doing better than when I'm just practicing off of a reference photo that's like hyper realistic or like an actual photo of someone. So I know some of you might feel that way too, and trust me, if you are feeling constrained by your references, do not overuse them then. I feel like that genuinely does hold artists back. All right, rough placement of the face here. This is not a facial hair tutorial, so I won't spend too much time on that. feel like this is too big though here. Or maybe it's not too big actually. He has a pretty wide set jaw, to be honest. You know what? I feel like we'll come back to the face later if we have time. This is not a face tutorial. As much as I am tempted to render faces all the time. All right, so going back to the actual subject of today, the hair. So his ear is actually a little higher than his eyebrows in this because the bottom of the ear is higher than the nose because of the angle that he's turned at. So I like the little breakups in the back of the hair there. So then I can kind of see the whole shape here is slightly in a darker value. So I'm just going to fill that entire area in first. And that will also help kind of start my value blocking because I'm creating essentially a base for a neutral value to be pulled from. Oops, that's way too low. So in those secondary details, he has kind of that one highlighted area there. And the rest of it, I can kind of imply by doing kind of gestural lines of the wave going back, not putting too much detail into it. And then for the wave, kind of has like a, actually no, I think I'm still gonna go from the front to the back. So I'm gonna push the hair here and then kind of detail it going back the head. Let's see here. Elena says, hello, won't be able to participate with studies right now as I have a lot of things to take care of, but we'll watch. Well, hello, Elena. Yeah, I feel like this one's definitely more of like the educational, pure study style tutorial stream. I think next week will be more of the conceptual, which I think a lot of people find more engaging and fun. So that's the one that I think if you want to participate, I think that one will be more of a fluid, kind of showing off your creativity one. Because then at the end of the stream, I'll do the same thing where I ask everyone to share theirs, and then I'll show them live on the stream and see what everyone came up with. And I might, like I said, don't hold me to this, but I might even bring on one of my friends as like a guest next week, and then I'll have them participate in the drawing as well. So we'll see. We'll see if I can get any of them to want to draw live. Because believe it or not, a lot of artists are very shy when it comes to drawing live. Oh, why am I working on the face? See, I'm talking too much. Talk too much and I get distracted and I start rendering the face. I feel like this line's pretty important to get right. There we go. All right, so he has his first swoop. So whenever, I think I'm going to take this one a little bit more stylized because the first one felt very shadow blocking. So I think this one I'm going to do more stylized with a line art heavy focus. So when I'm doing a line art focused hair study, I'm really trying to look at where do I see kind of isolated strands, and I'm going to essentially accentuate them. Especially these little loose ones that are kind of sticking out on the top of the hair. I'm gonna kind of graphically almost give them an outline. See how it's starting to like come together just from the outlines here? And then the areas that aren't one of the accentuated ones, they'll get kind of lost in the matte value that I'm going to be adding. Like that. See how it kind of creates this fun kind of stylized look? Oh yeah, we have officially 10 minutes, yeah. And move this down. And something else I like to do is if I notice some of the strands of the hair are going to be darker in value, I'll let it lay against a lighter value or almost a negative value. So like those two strands, I'll leave against that white background, so the texture or the value of the paper to really kind of accentuate the contrast there. I see the hair going further back. Kind of like straightens out in this section here. So something else I like to do when I am doing not only hair, but kind of my art in general is I'll let an area kind of have a natural gradient to a either dark value or a light value. So I think I'm gonna do the same thing here. So I like the idea of the back of the head being kind of a consistent darker value. And then as we get closer to the front, or maybe even like on the top middle here, I'll keep it lighter. So then the goal is to have it still read as hair, even if I'm not putting a lot of detail within that area. I'll say I might make this pushed out a bit further. Kind of like that. I feel like his hairline actually is further back. But you know, I kind of like that shadow there. This is also a problem when I'm doing reference studies, is I'll kind of just make variations based on what I think is more visually appealing. It's like a composition. And it will loosely follow the reference that I'm working with, but oftentimes I stray quite a bit away from it. Which isn't that how we're supposed to be using kind of reference anyways? Maybe I'm just so far removed from liking like hyper-realism art. To me, I'm not a fan of hyperrealism at all. Like, it's impressive on a technical level, absolutely, but on like a creative personal level, I'm always like, well, no shade if anyone loves realism art in the comments here, but not for me. Oh yeah, I think I'm gonna pull, let's get even more graphic with our outlining here. I'm gonna maybe even zoom in, enhance. Okay, so you can see where it's at now. How much time do I have? So we have about 6 minutes, everyone. And I'm gonna accentuate some of the values here and kind of showcase how I would take this into more of a graphic style. So this is where I think I get caught though, because sometimes when I get into my more graphic style, I get so tight with the outlines and the rendering style that I think it actually loses a lot of that fun flow and that dynamicism. I know that's not a word. That dynamic, what's a better word? It just has a better feeling, we'll say. I know there's a better word for it, I just can't think of it. And I lose a lot of that feeling. And that's why I gotta be careful sometimes when I push these into more of this like tight rendering style. But I also like playing with kind of doing line, almost like hatching, not cross hatching, just single hatching. So when I do the hair, like just giving it that line effect like that. It almost looks a little more like a comic book or graphic novel. And sometimes I like playing with that style. And because these streams are meant for kind of study and play and I guess experimenting with different techniques, this is kind of the perfect time for me to like see, okay, well, what do I like about this style here? So if any of you are following along for the remaining 3 hair studies, I kind of challenge you to try doing them in slightly different styles. And if you want to take it in the style that you're already doing it in for the remainder, that's totally cool too. Just a suggestion. Let's see here. Oh gosh, what are Cat and Tigel talking about? I low-key almost don't want to know. Those two are troublemakers, I tell ya. So you can see how it definitely has more of a, I don't want to say flat necessarily, but it definitely has the two-tone look to it, which is exactly what I'm trying to create here. I'm almost pulling some of the spaghetti hair that we talked about on 2 weeks ago stream. You can kind of see how I'm blocking out certain areas of the shadow and then letting other areas just remain blank. I kind of like how that looks. We got about 2 minutes left. Let's see, I want to add a little bit more variation. So even within those shadow areas, I'm just going to push some blocks of shadow a bit further. So to kind of make it a bit more cohesive, I'm going to fill this in, even if I'm not following the reference exactly, because it is a bit lighter there. Because when I'm doing hair, I like there being kind of areas of focus and rest. So for here, I kind of like the middle area being more of the negative space and kind of that lighter value. As much as I like the 2 dark curls, I almost want to take them away. I think I might take them away. Yeah, I think that actually reads a bit cleaner. Oh gosh, now you got Felix in there. What are you guys talking? Hunger Games, what are you talking about? Hey Ellie, oh, you're drawing too. Oh Ellie, I'm very curious to see your finished results. Are you also drawing hair studies, or are you doing your own thing today? What we got? Oh, okay, we got seconds left here, guys. Should I give... I kind of actually like that the face is more blank on this one, but a part of me just wants to... Just a very light placement of the facial features. Oh. I guess that's all I will be able to do. Maybe just give a little bit of a mouth. Okay. So, how was that one for you guys? We're almost at the halfway point. So yeah, that was definitely more of a graphic style for me. And then I think I'll play around with like more of a fantastical. Maybe I'll even do another sort of realism looking one. We'll play with it a bit more. I have no idea what Kat and Digital are talking about in the stream chat here. Digital disrupting Tim's live stream since 2013. Facts. Okay. So you guys ready? I'm going to put the number 2 there. So the third one, let me check which one. Yes, I think we have Donald Glover today. So for his hair, obviously we're going to treat it a little differently, but kind of the same still. So the initial kind of blocking out the shape will be the same, but then how we render the inside of the hair, because it's more of a tight curl, will be different. So this one is a good challenge for those of you who maybe don't draw a lot of black male hairstyles. But I'm telling you, it's actually really fun, especially if you're working traditionally, because you can play with the texture quite a bit. And it's definitely a play, especially with this photo specifically of him, of the areas in light and the areas in shadow. So are you guys ready? Let me go ahead. Starting the clock. Once again, 18 minutes. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Okay, so I wonder, maybe I'll do this one right here. I'll keep it like concise in a block. Okay. So I'm going to first kind of very much simplify it, create more of that circular edge. Block out his head shape here. Because as I've been saying, for each of these, I like to at least give myself a foundation and a base to work off of. So I like to at least block out his shapes first. I always feel like it gives me a good point of reference too, especially when I'm returning to the foundation, or like when I take a step back from the drawing and be like, okay, how does this look visually in proportion with everything that I'm drawing here? And I should state, this one was, let me see the, this one was submitted by Ella. So Ella wanted to see this specific photo of him. So his head's actually tilted just a little bit. So his left ear, but the way we're drawing it, the right ear is going to be a little lower. Kind of block out that head shape there. So now I'm going to kind of push in these slightly secondary forms here. See how, even though it is pushing kind of in an outward direction, in some areas it's pushing a little further out than others. I'm going to try to capture that here. Yeah, imply some scruff there. All right. So now that I have kind of the head shape, I can get into the hair rendering here. So obviously for someone like myself, doing this type of hair is really fun because it's a lot of blocking out contrast. And here it's a lot of light versus dark contrast. And even for a lot of this, I was saying don't focus too much on the individual strands, except for the ones that are kind of off of the main shape, as you see like on the top. this applies for this style of the tight curls as well. So I'm not going to be rendering every single, individual curl, but the ones that are kind of straying in their own direction, I'm definitely going to highlight them and block them out as well. So then I'm going to be playing with an outside line and then a shadow line. Because he's lit from overhead, you can kind of play with those two lines, which in my mind are very distinct. And then as we get into the right side of his head, the shadow line kind of merges with the outer line here. So let's go ahead and just fill that shadow shape in. So you can kind of see how we already have that shadow outline place, and it definitely creates a sense of volume already. So then when I'm doing the outer edge here, I'm looking at how the individual strands kind of lay up against one another and where they're a little further out, where they're pushing into each other, and then merging it back in. So then some of the shadows are off of that initial shadow line that I did. So that's where I can add in some of these shadow kind of chunks or diamond shaped pieces back in. It's funny, I can't not draw him and not think of his music. I like have it bopping in my head right now. So actually it looks like his forehead's a little wider than I initially drew it. So I'm just going to take, by the way, this is a mono zero eraser. If you guys don't have one and you're a pencil artist, I highly recommend you get one right now. They're very cheap and I use them all the time when I'm drawing. They're very, very helpful. I would say I use it just as much, if not more, than my Kneaded Eraser, which is also a valuable tool. Oh, we still have a lot of time left. I thought we'd have like 10 or just under 10 minutes, but we have like 12 minutes left. We got plenty of time. I'll be able to render some of his face here too. So let me play some of these shapes out. Because I don't want to get into too much of the... Oh, well, thank you, Claudia, for subscribing. I probably should have moved this subscribe thing in a different place because it blocks right over the reference for if people are using the screen to work off of. Yeah, I feel like his forehead's actually a little taller than I made it here. That's where this should be pushed out further. It's like something still feels weird. And sometimes if you ever feel that while you're drawing, like some proportion feels off, sometimes it's good to like stop drawing completely and then look at it. Be like, okay, actually this should move a little over. And like be hypercritical, but be constructive. So like his jaw pushes out a bit more. Yeah. Sometimes it'll be the little adjustments you make that can make a big difference in the final result. And you don't want to get too far into rendering and then realize one of your proportions are like way off. It's a horrible feeling. It happens to me. Not so much often as it used to, but man, back in the day, that would happen a lot. And I get so frustrated at myself because all it took was me just taking a little bit more time during the initial creation process, slowing down and recognizing when it looks off and then fixing it before I take it further. Yeah, I'm going to give a little bit of structure to the face here. I feel like because of the hair, I don't want to over render either. I feel like when I move really quick with the hair and it looks kind of how I'm wanting it to look, if I spend too much time on it, it'll start to look a little over rendered. And I think like another way to look at it is overcooking your art. Imagine if you like bake something and it's like just at the right look, it's right crispiness, however you wanted it. If you leave it in the oven too long, it'll get a little burnt, it'll get a little crispy. And I think when I'm doing rendering, especially of people or faces, if I over render it, it's overcooked. You overcooked it. I don't know however else to say it. It happens to me, not, like I said, not as often as it used to, but I wish I would have done more checking back in the day. And even when you hit a point where you feel pretty happy with the results, put your pencil down and maybe ask yourself, do I feel like I need to keep rendering this, or is it finished as is? Because I think sometimes the pressure of realism can make us push a drawing further than it actually needed to go to create some standard of result that we think we have to get, and then in turn we're ruining it. All right, let me look at the comments here. Erica says, do you find it easier to draw and render Caucasian hair or black Hispanic hair? They're kind of the same for me personally. I think both have areas within the rendering style that I very much enjoy. Like I think when it comes to more ethnic hair, I like how shape focused it is and how much you are relying on those shapes to kind of insinuate the volume. Where sometimes doing a lot of stringiness can be really fun for me, but it can also be very like laborious. It can be very like time taxing. Yeah, it just depends. To me, I really don't have a preference though, either or. I would say the only time I have a preference is if I'm doing like fantastical hair. So it's not even like based on a specific race or ethnicity. It's just nonsensical. So I think like spaghetti hair, I think that's my favorite style of rendering hair because it's so loose. And actually, for those of you who have no idea what I'm talking about, I think it's in this notebook. Yeah, so like this would be spaghetti hair, where obviously this doesn't look like hair. It like implies hair, sure, but it's not really hair. So that's really fun for me to render out. And even today with this, I like try to pull back kind of these thin rooted dreads, and I think drawing some of the little baby hairs on the side here, like that's kind of fun to draw too. And then sometimes I like to do this style of hair where, once again, nonsensical, it implies shape of hair, but if you look at it long enough, you're like, what am I even looking at? It's just like weird stringy shapes pushed together. So it just kind of depends. I mean, I've tried to find the beauty in rendering anything. I think the only times I have struggles rendering something would be like hard surface objects. So think sci-fi spaceship. Like literally the bane of my existence is rendering hard surface sci-fi. But you know, there's people out there that absolutely love it, and there's people that they loathe the idea of like rendering fantasy stuff, which I obviously love. So like once again, that's like a difference of art preferences. So yeah, actually, what about you guys? Is there like a specific hair type or style or length that you tend to gravitate to? I think I do tend to gravitate towards super long hair. I think just because I like being nonsensical with the hair, so I can let it flow and, you know, weave its own story and personality outside of the drawing or outside of the subject matter itself. Yeah, definitely. We still have 5 minutes, so I'm going to render some of the face here. His eyes look very relaxed here, almost like the sleepy bedroom eyes. I think his eyebrow's higher up, actually. Actually, if we only have 4 minutes left, maybe I really should focus on just finishing up the hair. There are like a few little touches I wanted to do. So even though I like how blockular the outside edge is, I'm going to add these little stray strands just to imply more of the coarse texture that he has. Nope, it's raining again. And it's been, I don't know about you guys wherever you are from around the world, but it's been raining pretty consistently here in Wisconsin, like almost every day, at least for a little bit. We're definitely at night right now. I feel like every night it's been either sprinkling or just a light rain. Oh, let's see here. Tijel says, did you know that Disney made history in Encanto by finally having all 12 hair textures in the movie? From straight to extremely curly, all Madrigal family members have a different type. I did not know that. I mean, it doesn't surprise me because they do have a lot of different types. You know what? I'm going to say it because a lot of you that come to my streams often, you know I'm kind of a film critic. And I've been, I think, extra harsh on Disney and Pixar, especially lately. I liked Encanto. I can't pretend to deny it. I think it's really good. I think it like reinvigorated some of what Disney used to play on, which was like storytelling that felt fresh. And I think they just did a really good job with it. Did anyone else really like Encanto? Like, was anyone else surprised by how much they liked Encanto? Because I definitely felt that way. I remember sitting on the couch. I forgot why I even started watching it. I feel like someone was like, no, Tim, trust me, it's better than you think. It's not like the remakes. And I gave it a shot, and bada bing, bada boom, I actually liked it. And legit, I had the Bruno song stuck in my head for like not even just days. I would say like weeks. And I would sing it to the cats all the time. And I don't know, I just found it so funny. Let's see here. Erica says, please tell us the story of how you became an artist. Oh boy, how did I become an artist? So, you know what? Maybe I'll save that because the timer's about to go off and then we're going to switch. I'll save that for when I start the next phase here. So I feel like that's more than just a 20-second answer. He's got such sleepy eyes. All right. I feel like I actually tilted his head too much in my own rendition of him. And even looking at the hair, I feel like some of these could actually go a bit further out, like now that I'm pulled back from the drawing. I'd make these just a little bigger. All right, so we got our first 3. Ooh, crack your hands, do what you need to, take a stretch. Yeah, maybe, can we all stretch our hand really quick? I feel like I should just do these normally for streams that are over 2 hours and they're very like exercise focused. So there's a few stretches I like to do. I do like to do the ones where I pull the hand straight back. My favorite one though is where you stick your hand straight forward, bend it 90 degrees, bend your fingers 90 degrees, and then pull it into your hand as much as you can. Take your other hand and then pull very, very gently towards you until you feel a stretch right around the outside of the arm. You should definitely feel that one. And then the last but not least, you're going to grab your thumb with your hand. So kind of like this, put your thumb into your palm, wrap your fingers around, and then you're literally going to pull down. So imagine you're pulling down on your thumb. I like to do that with both hands at the same time. You should feel this one more on like the top of the arm. And then actually the Kitty Hug Fitness, the one in the chat, was giving my arm a massage yesterday. I think it's good to work a lot of the muscles within the upper part of the forearm here. I have one of those massage guns, so I use it on this part of the arm a lot. But if you don't have a gun at all, just very gently kind of find areas within your muscle tissue that feel a little sore and try to just work them out in very small circles. Obviously, if you're feeling intense pain, stop. Maybe go see a licensed masseuse. But, you can do small things to help in the time being. Okay, are you guys ready for number 4? Okay, let's move into, so number 4. So this was the 90s Leonardo DiCaprio, the late 2000s Justin Bieber, and my personal favorite, Louis Tomlinson from One Direction. So this is kind of I would say the easiest of the ones today. It's the bob. It's the matte hair kind of flowing in the direction of the head. So we're going to do that one. Put a 3 next to this. Okay, you guys ready? Let's put 18 minutes on the clock. Right on the clock. All right, in 3, 2, 1. So how did I become an artist? And, as I'm answering this, I should first state, the way that I'm rendering this is the same as the previous ones. I might actually start, because it's such a circular head shape, and then the hair flows along with that kind of circular head shape. I'm going to do that first and then work off of that. Okay, so as I'm drawing this, how did I become an artist? So I started drawing when I was very young. One of my first memories ever, and it kind of is sparked by my sister quite a bit, was drawing in our kitchen, and my sister kind of showing me how to draw with markers. And another very vivid memory I have is my aunt got me one of those, I don't even know what they're called. Oh, well, thank you, Matthew and Yane, I think is how you pronounce it, Gurula, for subscribing. It was like one of those Halloween draw books for like kids, but it was one where it was a book, but it also had the slider thing where you could like exchange the head parts, the middle parts, and then the feet parts. And you could have like a witch head, but a Frankenstein body, and then a vampire feet section. And I just remember being so in love with Halloween as a child. And I don't know if it's because I felt like a weirder kid, but I remember I'd always be drawing witches and lightning bolts. And then I think seeing Hocus Pocus when I was young, like really had a deep influence on me. So that's why I like Hocus Pocus 2 coming out later this year. I have mixed feelings about it. I'll still give it a shot, and I'll try to go in without any like preconceived notions of like wanting to not like it. I think it's gonna be hard for me not to feel like Disney creates everything with like a capital gain in mind, but who knows? Maybe it'll prove me wrong. Encanto proved me wrong, so we'll see what Hocus Pocus 2 does. So anyways, I think just feeling like the shy, introverted kid in my class, and I was just naturally good at drawing because I started so young, and I wasn't even great, obviously, as a kid, but I think I was seen by my classmates as the best in the class, which I think having that momentum early on in my life propelled me to where I am now, because I've always had this weird notion and this kind of blind confidence that I'm a good artist, because a lot of people would tell me when I was young that I was a good artist. So I think this kind of plays into when, if you have like kids, or if you have nieces or nephews that really like drawing, I think it's good to always encourage them to keep doing it, because I think me having that reinforced validation at such a young age really did make me feel like I should continue my career in art. And I think the thing that really propelled it then was playing Final Fantasy X, Kingdom Hearts, Twist Metal Black, SSX3, and all these other video games were at that time, they were so influential to me. And having watched movies like Spirited Away and Hocus Pocus, obviously, and a lot more of these like artsy fartsy movies, I think it seemed very obvious to me that I would always be an artist. I don't know what form that would look in. I didn't know what that meant, but I always knew that was gonna be my end goal. So yeah, as soon as I got old enough, then I started drawing more consistently, like every day as a hobby. And even in grade school, I don't know if Kat remembers this that well, but I kind of started my own video game company, but it was really just like drawing essentially concepts for what could be games. And I had like 8 other friends that we would all contribute to drawing and creating these concepts together. And I think that's where I also kind of gained this weird sense of like leadership, even at like a very young age. Like, mind you, it was not that serious, but for me it was everything at the time. I think it just led into me wanting to create stories and I don't know, creating works that were more original. And that's when I started doing swordplay. So to make a long story short, which I know I've done a terrible job at doing in this answer, I feel like I've always known that I was an artist. There wasn't like a point in time where I knew specifically like I was going to change my future into this course. It just always seems like this very natural, organic evolution that of course I would be doing art, because that's the only thing I've ever been told that I'm really good at, and the only thing I've ever had a super passionate interest in. And I think I was privileged enough to have parents that were supporting, to have, I mean, we weren't rich, but we definitely had financial means to, send me to school, and I didn't have to worry about having to work a job to help pay my parents' mortgage or something. I think because of that, and because my parents they're such good parents, but they really instilled in me the value of working hard for what you love and to not complain about it and know that, there will be days that'll be hard, and I'm sure a lot of us feel that too. But you got to stick with it. If you really love doing it, you got to stick with it. So anyways, yes, that is how I became an artist. And I guess that was like the origins. And then to keep it really short, basically high school, I was definitely one of the best in the class. My art teacher was amazing, super critical of me, very mean. But I needed that because even when I graduated, she told me I was I was a big fish in a really, really small pond. And she said, wait till you get thrown into the ocean and then you'll see real competition looks like. And I remember that really stuck with me because I did kind of have this overconfidence in high school because I felt like I was the best in my school at that time. And it was definitely more of an arrogance thing because I wasn't challenged by seeing other people's work be better than mine really up to that point. But then when I went to college, that's where I got the humble pill. And man, that was a big one to swallow because I went from being like the best in my class to somewhere in the middle. And I loved that sense of competition though. I feel like I needed it because that propelled me to really work on my skills, whether it was proportion, shading, anatomy. And I like really pushed hard because the people I went to school with were so good, and we would just feed off each other. We just fed off each other's creative energy. So big shout out to Nubia, who now works as like a top executive manager at Zynga, Angela, if you're watching, and all my other friends that went to AI. I mean, you were such a big influence on me. You have no idea how much that meant to me. And then after school, I got a job teaching at CG Cookie. And then from that, I really actually enjoyed CG Cookie. And they gave me a big opportunity when I don't even think I deserved it. But then I went to a convention. My friend Angela took me to a convention for the first time. And I remember looking at everyone's booth and walking around being like, wait, you can make money like doing this? Like, is this profitable? And ever since that point, obviously now I've been doing cons ever since, and I was able to quit my job because cons were so successful. So I feel like I've lived a very blessed life. I have nothing to complain about. If I ever complain, it's just because I'm being sassy for the day, but I rarely like to dwell on that because I feel so lucky and I'm going to keep doing this for the rest of my life if I can. So anyways, what should have been a shorter answer became too big of a answer for me to try to do shortly, so that is my answer. Erica says, I was not surprised at how great Encanto was. Lin-Manuel Miranda put his Spanish soul into that soundtrack. I defy anyone not to love that movie. Yeah, I think it's great. Very surprised. Very surprised. I have been relaxing on this drawing. I feel like because I was talking and I was trying to think too heavily. Because this should have been the easiest one, and I feel like I've been toying around with it a bit. You know, speaking of like movies that I think are doing worse than what I was expecting them, who'd have thunk that it would be horror movies that seem to really be stinking it up right now? Like, yeah, horror movies generally have like a bad reputation to begin with, but oh boy, the remakes of the well-known franchises, they are so bad. I'm sure a lot of you may not even watch these movies, but like Halloween, I think it was Halloween Kills, and then Scream 5, which was titled just Scream. Those were so bad, like horrendously bad, like embarrassingly bad. And it's just sad to see franchises and these producers trying to milk these names for all they're worth before people just stop caring entirely. Because it just feels like franchises have this horrible way, or producers have this horrible way of taking like well-established franchises and then milking them until the fans hate it. And I don't know why producers do this. Like, I get money is an end result for a lot of these companies, especially like Disney and big name companies, but man, I mean, even look at what's happening with Star Wars right now. It's really dividing the fan base. And I have a couple of friends that love Star Wars, but even they're very hesitant on talking about like the new movies. I feel like from what I've heard, apparently The Mandalorian is actually pretty good, but I've heard a lot of mixed things about the Obi-Wan series that's out right now. And I definitely saw the meme or the gif of that green alien chasing the child and then like hitting a tree. It's like cringy bad. At least that scene was. I don't know how the rest of the show is. But you see this with everything. And I'm so glad that there are some things that seem untouchable right now. So like Spirited Away 2 never happened. And I think we're all very thankful for that. What's another one? Well, Hocus Pocus was it for a while, but now it's getting a sequel. What's another, in your guys' idea or mind, of a movie or a franchise that had like one popular thing and then it just stopped? Like it just knew that it was good where it was and it didn't want to just milk it because it can. I mean, heck, even there's a movie called Willow made back in the 80s, and it's a pretty fun fantasy film. I wouldn't say it's great by any means, but it's good. Kind of silly at points, but they're making a whole series of it, and trust me, I'll definitely be watching it because I love fantasy, but it feels very much like studios know they can milk it, so they will, and it still feels a little weird to me, especially like going to support it. I'm like, well, am I the sheeple? Okay, I need to fix this hair up. It's looking a little rough right now. So I'm going to kind of do the shadow blocking technique I did earlier. I mean, the fun part about doing mops or bobs like this hairstyle is you can keep it pretty simple in its shape, and then it's within that shape that you can kind of have fun with the different lines and blocking out the hair patterns. Because remember, the source of where the or not the cowlick, what's it called, where it kind of spreads in or maybe it's the cowlick. But I feel like cowlick usually implies like the hair going in like a random direction after like you sleep or something. but the direction of the hair kind of is sourced from the back, and it just kind of mop lies on the head, and that's what creates that kind of flat shape. So then it's within that shape that you have to create all these little ones. Oh my gosh, I just looked up and I saw someone said the Fantastic Beasts series. I know obviously Josh loves Harry Potter, and then my best friend Kat actually loves Harry Potter, but both of them are not fans of the Fantastic Beasts movies. I didn't see the new one, so I can't actually have an opinion on that one. I mean, I'm assuming some of you might be thinking a lot of Marvel movies, Disney remakes. I think they definitely milked that quite a bit. I actually liked the Cinderella one. Like when they first started doing the remakes, I think Cinderella might have been the first. Was it Cinderella or Jungle Book? Or I feel like there are a few of them that were in the beginning of this whole series. Oh, by the way, we have 5 minutes left, everyone. But I remember thinking, man, if Cinderella was done this well, like I can't wait to see what all the other ones are going to be like. I was especially excited for the Beauty and the Beast one, and then turns out I think that is one of the worst ones. Then again, Lion King 2019 is horrendous, so I don't know. I would say the worst Disney remake. Ooh, what do you guys think is the worst Disney remake? Oh gosh, it's either, for me, it's either Lion King or Beauty and the Beast. Possibly Aladdin. No, Aladdin was at least better than Beauty and the Beast. I haven't seen Mulan, I haven't seen Cruella or any of the other new ones because I kind of gave up on them. I think Dumbo was the last straw for me because I believed in Tim Burton. But then when I didn't even like that one, I was like, no, I'm done. I'm done with these remakes. I'm never watching another one again. I got to stop supporting them. Because if I'm going to be complaining about how much I don't want to see remakes, I can't be supporting them with my money. Because that's how they keep getting made, is people supporting it. Okay. I feel like I'm just going to fill in the values here. Sometimes if the values bleed into each other too much, I'll take a... What's that called, though? What's that called? The choice just to make everything darker to contrast. Even if it... I mean, thankfully this reference actually is quite a bit of a contrast between his skin value and the sweater he's wearing, but even if it was like a lighter sweater, I would still make it dark just to help with the visual clarity. Let's see here. Okay, Cinderella was the first, Corinna says, and they did not cling so much to the animated one, more freedom, but from there they just messed it up. Felix says, I love Cinderella, then watched Beauty and the Beast and stopped after that. Corinna also says Beauty and the Beast was the worst. Yeah, Beauty and the Beast was horrendous. I mean, man, what they did to Lion King, though, was pretty bad. It was, like, cringy watching it. And I watched it in a group with other artists. I remember the whole time being like, this is embarrassing. Like, I was embarrassed to watch it. Have you ever watched a movie and immediately want to erase the memory files from your brain? Because you're like, I don't even want to reference this. I don't even want to have those images or the voice acting burned into my memory at all. To me, that was Lion King. Like, instantly wanted to forget what I saw. Oh, and what they did to Scar. He's such a good villain, and they made him so bad. Oh, they took away all his personality and sass. Disney realized that everyone was assuming Scar and, like, Ursula and Jafar were too flamboyant. So then they were like, nope, we gotta tone it down, make them really boring. We can't have fun villains anymore. That's why, like, watching Aladdin was also kind of a cringe factor for me. That was the worst Jafar depiction. I just don't know why Disney are taking away the personalities of the villains. It's like my favorite part of the old Disney movies. Like, imagine watching the new Little Mermaid. Who knows what they're going to do with Ursula. But imagine if she wasn't sassy and kind of like a drag queen. It wouldn't be the same character at all. Okay. Well, that was definitely my worst of the 5, I would say. What should have been the easiest ended up being kind of the more difficult ones. I don't even know why. This should have been easier. I was talking too much, that's why. But you can see how I'm taking what originally was going to be more of the shadow blocking approach and then make it more realism. And I think I took somewhat more of a graphic style with the final result. But also his eyebrow's a little angry right now. Yeah, we're going to soften that up. Okay. Woof. We got one more left, guys. This is it. The final hoorah. How are you all doing? Tijal, Lion King makes me so mad. How dare they ruin Be Prepared? Do you know it wasn't even supposed to be in the original movie? I watched the YMS review, which it's only part 1 and it's a 2-hour long review. But if you want like a really funny, super analytical review of why The Lion King 2019 is actually terrible, watch that review. It is so good. I mean, I love YMS to begin with, but it's so on point. And he brings up how Be Prepared wasn't even in the original film and they added it after viewing or a lot of viewings and having these test viewings where people would comment of how much they didn't care that they took it out. So they like re-edited it back in. But apparently there was a lot of fear of the original Be Prepared because apparently it resembles a lot of the, I don't even know if I can say this on YouTube. We'll just say World War II Germany tactics. I think you guys get what I'm saying. Because if you look at the way that the hyenas march, and it has this very specific way of doing it where they thought it would like parallel it too much. So they decided to take it completely out. But that's a whole nother discussion we could have. The thing about Lion King 2019 that really is just so terrible. I mean, just watch the YMS review. Actually, Tijal, you should watch it. You would think it's so funny. But they took all the personality out of the movie. They like put it through a filter, and yeah, they gave it a graphical realism look, but they took all the fun, all the personality out, and then what was left, like the filter that they were holding, was like all the good parts of the movie, like the good pulp of the movie, and then what dripped through was like a very broad and basic version of Hamlet that was not appealing at all. So anyways, I don't like the movie, so I could just talk bad about it for too long. Anyways, let's move on. Let's move on. Okay, the final one is a shaved side that fades into kind of a curly top. So this one I think is also important to do because when doing hair, a lot of male characters, especially nowadays, it's so trendy, have kind of this shaved fade that goes up the head. So I think doing this as one of our studies is a good lesson for today. So let's go ahead. I'm going to set the timer again. You guys ready? Going back to 18 minutes. And 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, so profiles are honestly one of my favorite things to draw, just kind of on a whim. Like if I ever need to do a warm-up and I don't know exactly what to draw, I can always just start with a profile shot and then go from there. I think there's just something really strong about the face in profile. I think the head has a lot of fun shapes, and especially drawing it in profile, I think it just accentuates a lot of it. So as per usual, I'm going to start with the foundation for me to work upon and then build up from there. Oh my gosh, also guys, speaking of just horrible movies I've seen recently, I think M. Night Shyamalan, is clearly one of the worst directors of our time, but his movies are so bad they're like comedic. I recommend watching Old with a group of friends, and honestly, you could even make it into a drinking game if any of you drink. It is so bad. Anytime they mention the word like age or someone seems to say their lines incorrectly, just take a shot and you will not only be drunk by the end of the movie, you'll be dead. It is terrible, but what are we expecting from M. Night at this point? So yeah, that was horrible. I feel like I've actually seen a lot of good though the past couple of weeks. Obviously, Jabaro from Love, Death, Robots I think is a modern short film masterpiece. And I know I was even talking to Kat and my other friend Tyler. They really don't like the shaky cam at all, but I actually do like it quite a bit. I think it like accentuates and very much parallels the emotion that's going on, especially like when he's running or after he like tosses her in the river and you see her body just like kind of, you know, well, I don't want to spoil anything, but I think it's just gorgeous. And then I've been watching this show called Legendary on HBO, and it is wonderfully sassy and creative and fun, and it just has a lot of energy. I've been loving it. So I can't really complain right now about film or TVs or movies because I've actually been genuinely pretty happy. And then the new season of RuPaul's Drag Race, the All Winners, All Stars, is the best season, in my opinion, hands down. So can't complain. I've been a happy little camper, and I think having found my love for art again has been just the cherry on top of everything. So if you can't tell, I'm in a really good mood. I want to share some of that with you guys. Okay, so the way that I'm going to probably be rendering this further... Oh, you know what? I feel like I made his face too long. Hold on. Now I'm like looking at it from above. I'm going to redo the front face. Made it too big. There we go. This is another one of those things where definitely look at your drawing throughout the early stages so that you can save yourself a lot of headaches if you need to change anything later on. It's funny, this cut is so fresh. It looks like he's still in the barber shop and like the barber took a photo of him. He's still got the cloak that they put on people when they cut their hair. So I'm going to do kind of a fade with the pencil gradients here. So I'm going to be doing a lot of hatching, kind of pulling that gradient down. Placement of the ear is pretty important because that will be kind of the first area of rest. Yeah, like that. All right, what are you guys saying? Erica says, quick question, where's our awesome other half, aka Josh? Joshua is in the basement. He is catching up on a bunch of work. We had a bunch of orders from the cons and Etsy that he had to fulfill yesterday, so now he's catching up with like cleaning up and getting the workstation in the basement kind of back in order. Plus, he says, kind of on these tutorial streams, he feels sometimes like he doesn't know what to say because he doesn't have a lot to contribute to like critiquing the art as much. So he likes to be on more of like the fun ones. So like, I think next week will be more of a fun one. So even if I bring on one of my own friends to help and contribute to like drawing whatever the prompt is, I think I still might ask Josh to be on to help direct the questions. That one art guy says, I like Sassy Tim. I like Sassy Tim too. But I think when it comes to movie reviews, I think I'm just critical because I love film so much. I think if people are genuinely passionate about a field of either study or work or craft, it's not that they're being critical because they're being a-holes. I think they're being critical because they genuinely want to see it continue to grow and thrive and get better. But when a lot of, we'll say, mediocrity is being pushed to the forefront as quality, and I think if you have the taste level to recognize it as not, it's really hard not to speak up. And it's not even like I have the best taste in the world, But I think you have to believe that your taste and your opinions on what should be, in your field or in your passion and craft, you should at least like your taste enough to at least give counterpoints and like state why you think it should be better, or what you like or what you don't like. And then the best route you can take is just put into the world what you feel it is missing or lacking. And that's something that I really want to do, especially after my tarot deck's done. I feel like I've been sitting on my storybook for so long, and I finally won't have an excuse after my tarot deck, because the tarot deck I think will do well in like a financial gain. So then I'll be able to put all my time and attention towards making the book. Okay, we have about 10 minutes left on this one. Hey, Jonathan Liddell. Work is madness. Schoolism sale is well underway, and Lightbox tickets is just madness. My second book is definitely on hold now, lol. Jonathan, it's good to see you. Yeah, I know you've been working the Bobby Chew live streams, and I assume you're doing amazing at them because you are so good at being like a commentator and kind of a conversation director on these streams. So I assume you're doing a phenomenal job over there. And yes, for those of you who are going to Lightbox, I will be there in October. I am very excited. I've heard basically all my friends that went in 2019 rave about how much fun it was. And it was like a giant party of basically well-known popular artists. And a lot of them I haven't seen in a long time. Like I haven't seen Loesch since the Belgium con that we did when we went over there. And she's a sweetheart. I haven't seen like Ross in a long time, or a lot of these artists that I see posting on Instagram of like, hey, we're going to Lightbox. I'm like, oh, I'm so excited to meet. Like I've never met Proco, but I do think he's one of the best artists on YouTube for tutorials about anatomy specifically. So I'm very excited to meet him because I feel like he's definitely been an influence, not only in my own work, but definitely I recommend Proco a lot to other people. So it'd be fun actually meeting him in person. And obviously meeting like Bobby Chew again and a lot of the industry animators. I think it'll just be really fun. It'll be like a really fun reunion of just artists. Oh, Jonathan, swordplay. Yes, actually, I'm working on my new chase drawing. I'm like 70% done with it. You know what? After this hair study, I'll go grab it and show you guys where I'm at. I've been working on it basically every night because I've been like wildly inspired lately. So I'm pretty excited. I don't know, guys. I'm back. I am feeling so good about the art scene right now and my direction in it and where I want to go with it. And then our roommate Deandra is moving out sometime this month, and I really do want to do more like video content once she moves out. I feel like a part of me still gets weirded out if I know like someone's in the next room and I'm trying to record. I don't know why. It's like a weird thing where I don't like other people being like within earshot range while I record. It must be like one of those older like childhood stigmas of like I just don't want anyone hearing when I mess up because when I do like talking video tutorial content, I feel like I'm doing a lot of retakes and re-edits, and I just hate having people hear that. So yeah, once she moves out, you guys can expect a bit more video recording stuff, because I'm already planning on doing one on Friday, and it'll be talking about how I actually think AI art has helped me as a traditional artist be more comfortable with loose lines. So I mentioned this earlier on the stream, but for those of you who are tuning in later, if any of you are interested in how AI art could potentially be beneficial for you as a traditional artist, I think I have some thoughts on that. All right, we got 7 minutes, so I'm pulling out my mechanical pencil. I'm going to do some line edging on this hairstyle here, because I kind of like what we have going on. I like the head shape. I like the... See, now this is where I get a little more fantastical. So I pushed some of this background value to kind of highlight the lighter value on the back of his head and kind of show where the shaded parts are. I think I'm going to leave. I didn't realize he has this freckle. I feel like I unintentionally added that. I'm going to leave that in, though. Let's see. Tijel says, yeah, it's been refreshing, but also means my drawing career has been put on hold, which I don't like as much. What are you talking about? Oh, wait, I gotta scroll up. Tijel, yeah, I'm recovering from COVID, not sick anymore, but still tired very quickly. It also feels like my calendar is so fully booked, it's gonna burst with working on my house and stuff, need rest. Yes, Tijel, definitely take more rest if you need them. I feel like you are a very busy body over there. Yeah, take care of yourself too, my man. I know, I am also, I found out I had COVID recently, and it's not fun. When I was like coming back from a con, I was just feeling really sluggish, and I found I had it. Weirdly though, I feel like, I don't know if it just doesn't hit me, because this is the second time I've had COVID, and it usually, like a day, it's really bad for me, and then I'm fine like after that for the most part. And this time, weirdly, I didn't lose my sense of taste or smell, which was bizarre. I was kind of like, I can't have the virus because I can still taste and smell things, but nope, I got tested positive. Actually, it was funny. I think it was on the stream 2 weeks ago, or was it a week ago, where I like just tested positive that morning, and I had to do a live stream, and I didn't want to say anything because I didn't want people to worry or like ask questions about it. Yeah, I feel like I was working too much on the face on this one, but what do we have? 5 minutes? Yeah, I'm going to detail some of the individual strands on the head here. But as we finish up, if you guys want to post your 5 studies, or however many you did on the stream today, in the Discord, there is a link below, and the channel you are looking for is the stream follow along. You'll see it about halfway down when you join the Discord. And as always, I really should promote my Patreon if you guys want to see my daily progress on my tarot deck, on my warm-ups that I've been doing now every day, and any other drawing that I'm doing. I post them all on my Patreon. I do a monthly review stream, which the one for June will be later this month. So if you want me to personally take a look at some of your artwork and give you feedback, you can join my Patreon at any level and then submit on the exclusive Discord that you can join. And then lastly, if you could just give this video a like, or whatever the thumbs up is equivalent. I forgot, I'm not as familiar with YouTube. I think it's like, right? Or is it thumbs up? Is that the same thing? Whatever it is. It helps with the algorithm so that I can continue to grow my YouTube as I focus more on creating more video content, because I want to do more at home stuff. And honestly, if I could do more like live streaming and stuff and have it be like a genuinely good source of revenue per month, I think I would do more streams throughout the week. I was thinking of doing one where, like, on random days I would let people know beforehand, but I would basically use the AI generator to come up with a concept together, kind of like what we're doing next week. And then I have the 2 hours to draw whatever it comes up with based on the suggestions that you guys throw down. So I think that would be kind of fun. So yeah, I mean, if you guys want to see me do more live streams than just the Wednesday one, let's help build this YouTube channel. So yeah, a like really does help, because then it can be seen by more people, and the more people gives you more residual income, all that good stuff. And if any of you are trying to make it as an artist as well, having sources from different types of outlets. So obviously cons, you know, I feel like I'm going to go on a huge tangent of like how to make money as an independent artist. It should be its own live stream, but I'm going to shorten it down to this. I had a taxi driver, or a Lyft driver at a convention a long time ago tell me he was a retired like millionaire, essentially. He was just bored, so he was just doing Lyft rides around downtown. And he was telling me you should have 5 sources of income with you can think of it like your hand, with your thumb being your biggest source. So he was asking me and my friends, like, what are your 5 sources? And we had to like really think about it. And then after he dropped us off, it really gave me clarity on like, do I even have 5 sources? And really trying to navigate what that would look like for me. So now I know. It'd be conventions would be my number 1. Patreon would be my number 2, so the monthly revenue I get from that. YouTube would be number 3. And then the freelance work that I sometimes do would be number 4. And then random ones like Kickstarters or selling originals, and Etsy, which actually Etsy is more of like my second in command. That's definitely not my pinky. I would say my freelance is my pinky because I'm very picky about which freelance projects I take on nowadays. I feel like especially now, for me to take on freelance, it would have to be like a gig that I would really want to do. Like if Final Fantasy offered for me to do like a promo artwork for like Twitter or something for them, I would definitely do it. But like I said, it would have to be something pretty substantial at this point because me and Josh don't need a lot of money to live, and we're making a pretty good month-to-month income where I can do things independently and not feel so stressed about money. You know, I actually really like this one. Out of the 5 that I did, I think this is my favorite. Sometimes when you are just drawing and you're doing studies like this, wow, perfect timing. Sometimes just getting in that flow is all you need to like enjoy what you're doing. And then in a way, if you enjoy what you're doing more, I think it'll show in the results. Okay. So I do feel like I made his head a little smaller than it should have been. I feel like this is a little big. But you know what? If you don't look at the reference, I actually kind of like it better. But looking at the reference, I definitely made that a little bigger. Anyways. Okay. Oh, thank you, Tijal. Wait, what are you saying?
Always funny in a Tim's man's world. Here you go, $1. You can eat again this month.
Thank you, Tijal. I'm so glad I can eat again this month. Your dollar will go very far. So yes, thank you, Tijal. And yes, I always forget to mention that we do have a donate thing live on stream. So if you want to donate, you can. But as of right now, if you guys want to post your 5 head studies on the Discord, I'll be popping them up in a second. Let me go grab that chase drawing that I mentioned, and I'll be right back. So yes, post it in there and try to take as clean of a shot as you possibly can. Oof. Okay. So let me show you guys. So I was mentioning that I'm going to be illustrating my book after the tarot deck's done swordplay, but I'm going to be doing like drawings, throughout until that time comes. So here is my drawing of one of my characters, Chase, and this one has been such an interesting story for me in my mind because I started this idea back in late February, kind of March, and it was originally done when I was thinking of like creating thumbnails specifically for like social media return, and I wanted to do it that still felt genuine to who I am. So I started drawing this drawing, and I'm gonna probably do him in color, so I'll probably scan this once this is finished and then do it in color. But what's interesting about this is this very much to me speaks of my old way of thinking about drawing very much versus my new way that I've been drawing this past week, where this drawing is very articulate, very tight, very detail heavy, I think it's just very articulate in what I'm trying to present. Like everything, you can kind of tell what it is. And if you even zoom in on any of like the floral patches or the flowers, you kind of get what is going on here, like what it's supposed to be. But my new way of drawing is definitely more loose and interpretable, and I'm realizing that's my favorite type of like movies and art where it's not necessarily abstract, but it's very interpretable in some of the areas and like implies hair or shape or clothes or whatever it is, and I want to go more in that direction. So I think finishing this drawing up is very much me in like my send-off of this super highly articulate way of drawing, and whichever direction I go from here, I will always remember this point in my life of feeling like I'm so tight with the drawing. Especially in contrast to the way that like I've been doing the warm-ups the past 2 days with like this one and this one, where like these were each done in 1 hour, where that chase drawing is like, I don't know, hour 40 or 50 at this point. And it's funny how sometimes the feeling that you're trying to capture can be done in an hour, and that doesn't necessarily mean I'm just going to get quick and loose with all my drawings. Like I'll still probably get pretty articulate if I take this drawing further, especially in this area. But I think letting more areas just breathe and letting it be more flowy and interpretable, I think that's when I'm at my best, admittedly. Who knows, maybe you guys are thinking I'm totally in the wrong with that, but that's definitely how I feel with my drawings. So if you guys want to see the progression of Chase, I am posting basically every other day of my progress on Chase and where he's started versus where he's at now. So yeah, and thank you guys in advance if any of you follow me on Patreon. So let's look at everyone's drawings here. Let me move all this aside. Oh, well, thank you, Jonathan. Tim, yes, my friend, I love it. You know, I really loved Chase from the beginning. Yeah, Chase has been a fun one for me. Oh, you know what? I gotta move this to the side. So, I mean, I could get into his storyline on a different stream, but essentially he's losing his eyesight in the story. And for me, that is very meaningful to where I am at in like my own art career, because I felt like I was losing sight of where my direction was or like my purpose in the art world. So this drawing is just, it has a lot of layers for me, which it wasn't originally intended for that. Okay, let's see. How do I pull these up? So like I said, I don't think I'm going to do a... I'm going to pull them over here, I think. Move that aside. Do that. Do that. I'll put these aside. Okay. Sorry, I just gotta move everything around here. Okay, so let's go through each of them. So yeah, thank you guys for the support. Yeah, I'm very, very excited about that Chase drawing. What are you? Oh yeah, Tijal, I definitely knew that yours was Nate. Nate's always so much fun to draw. All right, so this one is from Candor. Oh, you know what? I should probably have the reference images still up though too. Let's see, how do I do this? You know what? Maybe I'll still have this on the side here. Let me do it like this. Sorry, I'm so discombobulated right now. Let me move this to the side. All right, like I said, I won't really be doing a paint over on this one as much because it's not on my Cintiq. Instead, I'm going to be just talking about each one. I think for this one specifically, you did a great job with the shadows and like capturing that. I would want to see a little bit more clarity with the hair in terms of the edge work. I think especially on the top right of your drawing and then the bottom left, I think just like making it more of a consistent value throughout can really help. Good job, Candor. Samantha. Ooh, okay. This is what I kind of mean with like the clarity. I can really feel the consistency in your values here, and especially like where the highlight versus the shadow are. So well done on that. And then Samantha said, I only had time for 3. That's totally okay. Ooh, yeah, even these are pretty good. I do think with the top one, in the areas of those highlights, I would just let them remain more flat in the negative space value. I think adding lines within them kind of takes away from the impact of it. Kind of like how you have the third one. I think his hair, where it's very highlighted on the top and then the shadow is very consistent, I think that's the direction you should play more, like you had in your first one with this as well. Let the highlight areas kind of stay shapular. But great job. Audiozif. Oh, well, this is fun. Did the studies in pen and water brush. I felt like this is the only one worth sharing. I had a lot of fun doing this. Yeah, this is great. I think you did a good job at not only keeping the shadow consistent, but then having it bleed into the beard area and having the eyebrows be the same value. I think you did a really good job with value play here. So yeah, good job. I think maybe with the top area, I would even let it breathe a little bit more where it feels very chaotic, especially in this area. But I kind of like where you kept it more shapular on the sides. But yeah, I think you did a great job. And I kind of like that you're using this like hatching style mixed with water pen. So that's fun. Gentian, that a lot of you are like blocking out the ones that you don't like. You said, I never work in pencil, so this was so uncomfortable, lol. I wouldn't have been able to tell you don't work in pencil. To be honest, a lot of pencilers are very shy about going dark. I used to do this a lot too. They tend to work very light and like hint at things. But I can see you have a very bold hand in the way that you're doing it. So honestly, I think you're doing a good job with the value confidence. Yeah, I think the proportions of the head shapes are a little strange, but since this was more of a hair study, I'm not even going to talk about that. When it comes to the hair, I like how you did Mr. Glover, but I think the top two here, I would let the highlights breathe a little bit more and then have the shadow areas be more consistently matte. And I think that might help you a bit. Or maybe even edge out some of the curls, because on the top ones, besides the two little prongs on the right drawing, I don't really see a lot of the fraying and a lot of the curls that came off of the reference in the heads. I also kind of like how on the stream we just have Cole Sprouse just like gazing into the viewer's eyes right now. Ningyo, once again with the beautiful blue underlying pencil. I mean, your style is just so fun for me to look at. Let me pull up nope, that wasn't Louis, that was this one. Yeah. I feel like your interpretation has more of like this David Bowie alien-esque proportioning to it, but I actually really like the proportioning that you do. The hair, I definitely think I would play a bit more with the weight of the line shapes, and I think having maybe just a slightly darker edge, kind of like how you did on this edge right here, where you can kind of tell the difference between the shapes on the outside versus the shapes on the inside. I definitely think you made Cole Sprouse look like a baby, but he's a cute baby. Yeah, I can see you starting to play with the shapes, and I can see that it looks to me like you had the most fun with this one. I would keep playing with that, and I would play even with the shapes more, and maybe have an area where you barely have any shape rendering at all, and then have an area where it's even more chaotic than this. And I think that might challenge you to see other ways of like rendering hair where you might like the contrast not only in value, but the contrast in level of detail. So great job. Oh, you said I did a messy job, but here it is anyways. Man, you guys got to stop down-talking yourself so much. These are good. All right, this is from Corinna. Oh my God, don't know if I did such a good job. Last one did not turn out great, I think. It was a fun exercise, though. Remember, yeah, these are meant to be exercises to help us grow together as artists. Actually, I think your value consistency through these are pretty great. I can definitely see you going for more of a realism approach. And for the most part, I would say you're pretty successful. I think from here, I would just still push some of the stray hairs that come off, especially like on the Cole one. But I can kind of see you getting more confident as you went through them. Yeah, I think, weirdly, I actually think the Louis one is the best out of these. Oops, excuse me. I can see a lot of play with like highlighting and breaking up the texture. So yeah, I would say these are actually pretty good for what you were aiming for. So good job. Barbara. Ooh, oh, I love the fifth one. Yeah, I feel like you and I were on the same page with darkening the background to like almost give this illumination to his profile. Love how you did that. Yeah, I feel like with the third one, I kind of like, I don't know what happened where it got a little darker here. I think if you introduce a dark value like that, you almost have to introduce it everywhere or make it feel intentional. Because I feel like if you just kneaded erasered just that part, it would feel more consistent. Because right now, that to me is throwing me off. Um, but I think you did a pretty good job with the texture of the hair. Like I can feel the the coarseness of his hair. The Louis one, I feel like yeah, this is pretty kind of like where I did with mine, where I was like, it's definitely good. It gives me the shape of the hair, but I think you really shined with the fifth one. I really think you did a good job of playing with negative space versus value. Let me look at your first two here. Oh, how dreamy the first one. Uh, Actually, you know what? I feel like you definitely had a lot of the examples that you got better as you kept doing them. Because I feel like 4 and 5 are the strongest, and I think one is, well, one's not bad necessarily, but I can still see there's like 3 different tones of values, and I feel like they're almost fighting each other a little bit on where the darkest value should be. But then when you got to the fifth one, like you definitely placed where the darkest values were, like just wonderfully. Same with on the Louis one. I think maybe these two are a little dark, but I like that you went for it and you did this contrast where it felt very well placed. As for number 2, I think this is where it was a little stringy, but I can see you playing and navigating with that space. And I think you kind of figured out the stringiness by these two, and like you let more areas just breathe as like a negative space, and I think that's where a lot of your strength is in rendering. So good job, Barbara. I mean, I wasn't expecting anything less from you though. Let's see here. Felix. This was rough in the time, but I probably wasted too much time on the actual heads rather than the hair. I completely failed with the Donald Glover hair, so I probably need to practice African hair. Also, I did this on my tablet PC rather than my drawing tablet, which I still sort of struggle with. Yeah, I think with these, I can definitely see what you mean by focusing a lot on the heads, but I have to admit, I could definitely tell that the second one was Louis just on the way that you kind of shaped it and rendered it. So I guess you gave the qualities of him through it. I feel like for a lot of you, the fifth one, the very last one, is where you guys started getting really strong, because I like how you did the fade, and even the face, it was simpler than these two, but I feel like you were quicker in just like putting down the lines to give yourself a foundation to work from, and I feel that speed, and I hope you can continue with that, because I feel like a lot of times we get wrapped up into going a little slower because we're just kind of noodling through how, and like, I think when you have that time constraint and you just force yourself to just lay it down, oftentimes we get more confident in our mark making. And I feel that with your fifth one for sure. And even the way that you like did some of the rendering. I do think just using pure white can be difficult when doing digital for highlights, because it looks a little like it was just drawn on top. I almost would have liked to see it without it. And then maybe just giving little highlight areas like in the middle section of where it might be. I think you kind of did a better job with the Louis one with the highlight section, but I like that you're going bold with your values. And then I think definitely with this one, I think giving some definition to some of the curls and some of the strands, and then letting the rest be a little more vague and opaque, I think may help you, because then that contrast in definition and detail, I think will help it read better. But good job. Either way, good job, Felix. And then last but not least, I want to say your name's Nagi or Negi. You'll have to let me know how you pronounce it. And let me move this over here. On this one, I really like the first one. Oh, actually, the first 3 I really like. I think this is a good example of what I'm talking about, of like letting a drawing breathe in areas. Ooh, this is really zoomed in. So having a lot of this negative space imply where the highlight is, and then have the shadow just be a matte, flat color. I think this is where hair can be really fun to play with, because you don't have to do a lot, and yet it reads so impactful. Yeah, this is great. I feel like the fourth one loses me a little bit, but the first 2 and then the third one, these 3, I think read very well to me. Yeah, I really like how almost like a statue, like a marble statue. It's so soft, but it reads with such clarity. So good job. Okay, I think... Wait, Tigil, did you submit one? Hold on. Did I miss one? Oh no, Ella's commenting on one from last week. I was like, wait a minute, I don't see a Tigil one. Okay, so thank you guys so much for coming to this weekly Wednesday live stream. Next week, as I mentioned, I'm going to be doing the kind of creative, spontaneous one where we'll be working together on a AI-generated concept and thumbnail, and then we will be working from that. So if you want to join me next week and have kind of a creative stretching, we'll say, and I'm very curious to see what everyone creates from it. So I think this one will be really fun. So if you guys have ever wanted to join in one of these streams, I definitely recommend doing next week, because I feel like it's not only showing your technical ability, but it's also leaning into your originality and your creativity and what you add to the drawing. So I'm very curious to see how next week goes. And I hope you come to that one, because I'm in such a good mood. I feel like I hope to like inject that into a lot of you guys in how you can use AI in like a positive, inspirational way, rather than seeing it as this like gross undermining of the art community and the future of concept art in general, because it is a little scary sometimes thinking about it. But using it in the right fashion can make it this awesome tool. Okay, that's all I have. Yeah, if you guys, before you could leave, if you could just like the video, and hopefully we'll see you next week. And if anything, till then, we'll see you on the Discord. And if you're my Patreon backer, I'll be posting more of my drawings later tonight. Okay, take care, everyone. Thanks for coming. Bye, 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 bye.